When I set up the series back in December, little did I know how appropriate the opening in a world where change is taking place at an unprecedented pace would become. More than ever, do businesses need agile, intelligent, and adaptable solutions. This is where SAP Business Technology Platform, in short BTP, comes in. SAP BTP is continuously evolving, with new features and functions being added regularly to ensure it stays at the forefront of innovation. Today, you will learn how app development and automation in SAP BTP can help you work smarter and faster. A very warm welcome, and thank you for joining our sixth and final episode of SAP BTP in 2025, an exploration of the latest updates offered by the Global User Groups organization. I have the pleasure of having here with me Thomas Vollmering, VP, Head of Product Management for SAP BTP Application Development, Automation, and Integration. Thomas leads Product Management for Application Development, Automation, and Integration in SAP BTP. He has more than 20 years of experience in different roles in product management for integration, workflow, and process management, as well as business applications such as SAP ERP, materials management, and supplier relationship management. Before taking over his current role, he was Chief Product Manager for SAP Build Process Automation. Today, his focus is creating value for customers through hyper-automation and building a unified user and developer experience with solutions like SAP Integration Suite, SAP's integrated low-code, no-code offering SAP Build, or the newest pro-code offering SAP Build Code. And with this, I would like to hand over to you, Thomas.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you. Yeah, I was hoping you would say you saved the best for last, but you didn't. So, hi everybody from sunny Germany. Let me share my screen with you. I am honored and pleased that I'm here to talk about my favorite topic, which is application development and automation. And so the question is, what is application development and automation with SAP BTP? Well, it is basically pretty simple. It's called SAP Build. And what is SAP Build? Well, it's, as we call, a turnkey unified environment for AI-driven app dev and process automation. And that has a little bit of a history. We started with Build a couple of years ago, actually focusing on the low-code and no-code side of app dev and automation. And last year, pretty much around this time, we launched SAP Build Code as the pro-code environment in SAP Build. And then we integrated it with the ABAP cloud as well. And now I'm really super excited to share with you that we took the next step of actually, integrating all kinds of, scenarios into Joule to make Build truly your turnkey AI-driven app dev and process automation platform. So the benefit of Build is, of course, then that it helps customers and partners and also our own SAP applications to work across multiple development models. So be it the ABAP cloud or the SAP Cloud Application Programming Model or CAP, or low-code, no-code, if you will, as a development model. And we do that by offering templates, recipes, pre-built content packages, and now, more than 570, or I lose actually the count. And these content packages come from our own line of business applications. They come from partners. And, we also develop content there because it includes also a variety of SDKs. It includes bot templates. And everything that we learn along the way, what are kind of like the most, prominent and most demanded kind of scenarios, that we package them into what we call as templates, as recipes, and deliver them. And now actually also with the support of generative AI, so that SAP Build can be used to build workflows and automations, low-code or full-stack applications, extensions, integrations into, the SAP or non-SAP world. And of course, on top, digital workspaces. And of course, we support with SAP Build partners for what we call as multi-tenant SaaS applications and add-ons. So if a customer wants to build on top of SAP, well, here's the place, like use SAP Build. Now, how does that look like? If you look at it, a unified developer experience start actually with what is the central entry point, so to say, what's the central access that you have for all your projects that you build for app composability or automation. So there's a single entry point, and that's called the lobby. In that lobby, you can build applications with, be it with the low-code side of the house, with build apps or with build code, full stack. You can build process automations, whether you start with a workflow or you start with RPA bots that are orchestrated then in a process, plus also including business rules. And of course, you can build your business sites as, I call them digital workspaces. And then when I mentioned it, of course, also you have access here to an embedded store where you see, all of the content package. Over here, I filtered in that screenshot, I filtered the projects that we have recently launched for processes and process automation. I see these are alone 157, and you see from US tax exemption certificates management, assignment of materials to network activities, treasury, invoices, projects, purchase requisitions, all of that stuff you find here. And it's at your fingertip that you are in this embedded store in the lobby. You click on, activate or create from template, and then within a couple of seconds, it's yours and you have it in your project. But Build offers more than that. Now you can also, in the control tower of Build, and that is fairly new and a couple of weeks ago, this is where you basically as a user agree to the consent that you enable Gen AI, and then you can make use of all the fantastic AI capabilities that we have recently launched. And I will come back later to that. Of course, this is also the place where you have what we call as connectors in the Build lobby. So which connectors do we offer? Next to, of course, the automation SDKs that we have for a long time. If you say, well, you want to connect to actually Microsoft Excel, or you want to connect to a third-party system, well, there are automation SDKs that you can use these capabilities there. But we offer also the notion of actions, and you see here the actions in the lobby that have been created. This provides actually a very easy entry point into the world of APIs. So you just click, create, and then you can search all the APIs from SAP that are offered in the Business API Business Accelerator Hub, plus also the events that are offered there. So standard things like sales order created or sales order changed, you will find there. And then you can use these APIs, but it's even better. You can also connect this to your to your integration suite. If you use integration suite and you say, well, I have created already there on the standard API some integration flows, you can use these integration flows also with a couple of clicks as actions, so that you can connect actually also from Build via integration flows, for instance, to third-party systems. Third-party connectors are there, right? Plus also, of course, that if you use Build itself and you have CAP, Cloud Application Programming Model, and you expose that CAP model as a service, you can also search for the CAP model and use that for maybe more comprehensive business logic. Okay, so that's in a nutshell what SAP Build offers there. Now let's come to what's new, what's exciting. And I mean, everything in Build is exciting to me, but recently we launched Joule for developers. What is Joule for developers? Joule for developers is a unified offering for AI capabilities across all Build solutions. So be it in Build code or Build apps or Build process automation, or also the ABAP environment, the ABAP cloud, we have now comprehensive AI capabilities for a plethora of appliances. I wouldn't call them use cases, but appliances for application development, specifically existing code optimization and automation. That is super exciting. I will talk about this a little bit later. But also stuff like, okay, you create a unit test. You create artifacts in Build process automation, be it a rule, be it a JavaScript, or be it a full process or a form. You can use AI to do that. So it's assisted, augmented development. What is also very helpful there is, of course, the next topic, which is summarization, which is using AI explainability. So you can use AI to actually ask, explain to me, this process with its sub-processes, and then Joule, as your co-pilot that we're using, will explain to you what this process is about and which kind of steps are in the process. Or, you can use also summarization on more complex decision tables maybe that you have in such a process. So Joule will explain to you what you see there, and then basically you can start generating also new artifacts, all with the power of AI. But what's more, than just generating something, and we have that, of course, also on the full stack app development where you can create code. You can also optimize code. You can build full-fledged applications, but explain or use explainability also on the code that you might want to migrate. For instance, if you're still on another platform or you use another kind of legacy system. I will talk about these topics in this session today with you. And of course, we're using large language models, foundation models out of our ecosystem. And of course, providing options to our customers and partners, which kind of foundation model to choose. Look at the Generative AI Hub. There you can see. And then, we work actually with the industry leaders there and have diverse kind of large language models that we use. But we also have SAP-centric large language models, for instance, the ABAP large language model, which is very specific to SAP, and it provides, of course, specialized outcomes. Good. So how can this be used? And we asked many. And I always say a couple of years ago when we started investing more and more in AI capabilities, and we have a history of using very successfully AI business services, like for instance, for document understanding, the document information extraction service, or data attribute recommendation. On top of that, we were building recommendations, AI recommendations in our own SAP Task Center, so that you get as a manager, if you need to approve a financial document, you get not only the explanation, but also recommendation if you should approve the invoice or not based on the past execution, and also with a confidence level. So, these kind of AI services we used. And when we started investing in actually, AI augmented development, I asked developers, will you use a co-pilot? And years ago, some of these developers were still saying, well, we are developers. We don't, we have human intelligence. We don't need artificial intelligence to do our job. And of course, that picture has dramatically changed over the last 12 to 24 months. And why is that? Yes, because, the next generation of developers that is already in the market now, expect that there is a code pilot that helps and improves actually the developer efficiency in saying you can generate code, make recommendations, maybe not only with a co-pilot, but also inline, and then, help with real-time documentation, get data insights. It's more like really a productivity gain using AI than taking the job away, right? And then also recommendations. So for instance, an integration developer will be super happy if, she can use AI for recommendations on pre-built content, on APIs, on optimization of scripts, all of these things. So that's, I would say, developer productivity. On the other hand, business process experts find it still hard, even after, my history at SAP is 25 years now, and I remember that we were discussing how to model the process, how to model actually process improvements in tools in the past. And it's still difficult to model. Well, AI can, of course, help. It can create these process models for them. Now, administrators, many times administrators next to business experts have actually the task to script complex workflows across multiple UIs, for instance. Also, they are super happy if they have kind of like assisted and augmented development there next to the data steward, who, and that is super important for using data products. And, we have, of course, a solution for that with the Business Data Cloud, to understand data, to not only understand data models, but actually understand data and get more insight into that data. So you see, these are kind of like the high-level efficiency gains that you can get with AI. And of course, here with, SAP Build, we provide all of that. We provide the flexibility of using low-code and pro-code methods, be it with build code. If you look at this here, you start creating actually a full-fledged application, and you start with actually the data model and the test data and so on and so forth. But you can also quickly build full-stack UIs, mobile applications with pre-built templates, and thus this across different environments and the programming models like, CAP, ABAP, and of course also the ABAP RESTful application programming model. Now, that leads to actually a reduction of up to 30%. And, we have done a lot of research on that, up to 30% of application development costs by, expediting application development in creating data models, app logic, unit tests, and sample data with Joule. And I think we will see in the next 2 to 3 years that number of 30% even growing more and more and more, right? Because even more complex tasks, full-fledged solutions will be able to be built, across the different programming models and not only simple single artifacts. And we took the next steps already here, because it's not only about creating code, but also generating, for instance, unit tests. Unit tests for ABAP classes, core data services, something that a lot of customers do not do because it's really cumbersome, and that leads to problems. And now you can use AI to do that, and that helps, of course, tremendously. I will talk in a couple of minutes about what does that mean to existing code, like legacy code. How can we use AI there as well? Okay, but first let me go to the next thing that we just launched a couple of weeks ago, that now it's there, what we talked about for a while, that you can use Joule also to generate you a full-fledged process automation. And yes, it's a little bit of scaffolding, of course, because you have to work with, okay, generate the process, and then, edit the artifacts and go inline and say, use Joule then to create a decision table. Yeah, that you say, I know kind of like the business rule and the policy, and you type that policy in natural language. And what it does, it will create you actually, the decision table that you can use then as a decision artifact in the full-fledged process automation process. You will see it's inline in the model, but as well on the complete model. Of course, you can, use AI and use Joule there also to create, for instance, a data model, a data type for the process. You can use that data type then and create a form and use it in the process, and so on and so forth. And next to what I just mentioned as well, of course, we have this employee productivity when it comes to decision recommendations in the task center. I explained that already. And the next step is orchestrate more complex automations with the help of AI agents. Okay, so now let's come to also what is new and super exciting. We launched Joule Studio, and we launched at the same time actually Joule for ABAP. And that's super amazing because we have, of course, a huge ecosystem of ABAP developers, and they said, well, it's great that you use, Joule for in build code for CAP, but how about ABAP? Now you can use Joule also to accelerate your ABAP cloud development. Yeah, in ADT, in the ABAP development tools, for predictive code completion, like I mentioned before, unit tests, and explain also CDS models, yeah, core data service models, and ABAP together. And then, on the roadmap, we also look currently at, okay, full-fledged ABAP cloud application generation with documentation chats, assisted ABAP extensibility, and so on and so forth. That's on the roadmap. You can learn more if you follow here, the QR code. Which products are supported? Well, we proudly say nearly everywhere. That means BTP ABAP environment, but also public cloud edition and private cloud edition as of 2025. Now, that is not the only use cases. Of course, we also in ABAP enable that you can develop your custom AI scenarios with the help of an ABAP AI SDK. So there's something that is popular as ISLM, which is the Intelligent Scenario Lifecycle Management in ABAP. And there we provide actually support with the ABAP AI SDK that you can build your own scenarios and build your own kind of AI support. And that means we leverage all the capabilities and, of course, the large language models that are hosted on the GenAI Hub. Plus, of course, ABAP uses the ABAP LLM. Now, what's on the roadmap for ABAP is one of the most exciting things that I've seen, because I've talked to the colleagues 6 months ago, and I said, oh, it would be so good if, imagine, for Clean Core, you could go as a customer or a partner and just explore the legacy code and, have AI help to transform that legacy code and that custom code, from the old world into the new world, actually, from ECC to S/4HANA. Bring your code into the cloud, into ABAP Cloud. And that is what is currently still in the making. We will be releasing that very, very soon. That means that you can use generative AI to transform your classic ABAP code to a Clean Core and ABAP Cloud compliant code. And that means you do not just do that with a push button, but you have explanations in the ABAP test cockpit so that you can really truly use that capability with Joule to understand what did your legacy code do, because that is the biggest problem. I know that also 23 years ago, I was, in a project and somebody had created actually, a body implementation with custom code in ABAP. And later on, was 10 years later, the person was gone, had retired, and nobody understood actually of course, as a developer, you understand the code, but it was very cumbersome. Now you have a push button that tells you exactly what this code does, and it gives you proposals how you should adapt this code and use it and use modern APIs, and then you can actually transform that code as well. Yeah, that's very geeky, very techy, but I'm very excited about that because it will help many people. Now let's come to what our customers tell us about using Joule capabilities for developers. And you see there are Henkel, Deloitte, Uniper. I think Deloitte is one of the examples that I love to use because the colleague there, Chip Kleinhexel, said, in utilizing GenAI, Build Code offers our joint clients easier integration capabilities, a streamlined developer experience for cloud application development, boosting productivity and driving tangible value. And you see that the other remarks are also going into that same reaction. We have really clear proof points that using AI with Joule for developers has a big impact on the productivity of our developers at the customer side. Now, and because we get these questions many, many times, is what are the use cases, right? Everybody talks about AI, and we at SAP, of course, we know business processes really well. And we said, well, there are certain use case categories that we structured in kind of like, maybe even in the future in a maturity model where we say, well, start here if you want to have a quick win. But by and large, there are 5 bigger categories of use cases. The first is navigation. The second is data access. The third is system transactions, workflow execution, and decision assistance. Let's start with navigation. So navigation simply means AI helps users across different applications to get to the specific information that they need. Yeah, whether that's on user roles to provide training, whether it's on navigating to the relevant Fiori app or other SAP systems based on the user context and so on. So it's navigation support. The second is data access. That means enable business users to retrieve, monitor, and track data through the Copilot Joule. And here you see there is so much in there, like only if you think about, a retail system, retrieve clothing allowance information, or you look at employee salary information, safety stock levels, supplier verifications, even weather data for logistics. All of that, AI can basically provide. System transactions is meaning you basically automate the structured actions of the execution of transactions within various systems, but it also means creating records, like managing cost center changes, creating service tickets in a third-party system, post-sales orders in S4. All of this can be done automatically. And yes, you're right. If you think, well, I can do that now with APIs. Well, but what if, a Copilot can do that for you? And you have the Copilot at your fingertips, and you just provide the data and say, create a ticket, create an order, right? And the Copilot manages all the complexity of the different steps that are needed to do that, and maybe has even, access to and conversations with other autonomous agents. So workflow execution is also pretty straightforward. For instance, gather input for price inquiries, create a business partner in a structured process, pull tasks or push tasks to people. And if not needed, then the agent can automatically do that also for you. And decision assistance is also quite straightforward. That means, that you use AI for decision-making, providing the necessary data, recommendations, and analysis on that data, and say, I recommend that you approve. I, provide recommendations on materials to reorder based on stock levels. I provide a summary of the analysis of revenue or store performance. All of that is actually a decision support, and it helps business to act more flexibly and agile. Okay, now let's come to what does that mean if we look at these use cases also, because now we talked a lot about you use Joule as a Copilot for code generation or for assistant augmented development. I think the next level is, of course, that we use Joule not only, for these kind of tasks for developers, but let's take 3 steps back and say, what is Joule? Well, Joule is your Copilot that comes from SAP, where SAP makes every touch point that we have in our applications simpler and make every touch point, every task simpler, providing agents. These are application-specific agents. They come from our LOB applications. And this is what, we have, of course, as the highest value proposition at SAP, because we know these processes, we know the data, we can provide you with these agents. And then the next question is, what if now a customer or partner wants to extend these agents with their own Joule skills, saying, okay, that's a an extensibility scenario, like we have extensibility scenarios also when we deliver applications, when we deliver user interfaces, when we deliver processes and workflows. Customers and partners want to extend them to their own needs. What happens with the agents that we develop? So you want to create your own skills to extend an agent coming from Joule, from SAP. And the next step is then, when can I, as a customer or a partner, start building my own AI agents? Now let's look at this. So Joule Studio has been launched already last year. We announced it, and we are just a couple of days away from a big announcement and the GA of this. This is planned for this year, a couple of weeks. And you will see that, of course, you can use Joule Studio as a part of SAP Build to enhance Joule's out-of-the-box capabilities, from SAP to support your scenarios. You can create, deploy, monitor, manage your own skills. And you can do that with the drag and drop simplicity of the low-code, no-code tools. We will add also some pro-code capabilities there, because that also can go hand in hand. Yeah? And of course, that also means that you can then integrate any third-party system, like here in this scenario, creating a ticket in ServiceNow, that you can, build these skills very simple. And of course, when you do that, you will have in the Joule Studio all of the, benefits of SAP Build at your fingertips. So let's say you want to create an action to integrate with any system. Well, you just need to upload the API specification to connect to the SAP or the third-party system, or you basically look at the API Business Hub where all the APIs from SAP are, and you can create that action and use that action as a skill in your Joule Studio. The next step is, of course, I talked about the content. Here it comes again. Well, we have created, all of this content, and it includes also different kind of content packages that you can simply activate and then say, well, make this a Joule skill that you can trigger a supply chain process. You trigger an HR process. The supplier invoice actions can be used to create the supplier invoices. The SDKs that we have there, you can use the bot capabilities, the automation capabilities there, and so on and so forth, right? And you can make use, of course, via that approach, also with the existing artifacts that you have created on your own as well, and you have them in your library. Now, of course, you can start then also creating workflows, automations with all, the benefits of doing that in that low-code, no-code fashion here, and say, well, you want to quickly integrate these capabilities that you build from scratch into Joule, for instance, to get supply information here and create a Joule trigger, actually, that you can use that capability. And of course, it comes with transparency and governance, because also these Joule skills, like all the artifacts that you create in SAP Build, you want to govern. You want to basically have a full-fledged control about, who creates these skills, is there a workflow attached to that, in which kind of environment are they allowed to be operated. Like, for instance, not everybody in the organization will be able to create a Joule skill to integrate with with your HR system to read all, the annual compensation round information, for instance, yeah. And maybe supplier data are also different from finance data, so you can freely configure that and you have full-fledged governance. Okay, now, what are use cases for, these Joule skills? And I have just two that I want to share with you. The first is a Joule skill to manage discounts. Quite straightforward. What is the challenge? Well, you need to determine the discounts for customers, and that's usually time intense. It requires manual checks across payment history, outstanding invoices, and discount policy. So it's quite a cumbersome task to do. And, if you provide that as a Joule skill, it's pretty simple, because it requires just data integration. Joule is able to analyze the partner data from S4 includes all the years of the partnership, the payment history, and of course, also what is super important, the unpaid invoices. And we use actually here rule-based logic, yeah, where you can say, hey, no discount for partners without within unpaid invoices, right? Discount ranges, automatic approvals, triggers, and so on and so forth. That is a super cool kind of use case for creating your own Joule skills. The second is procurement efficiency. So we all know the challenge, well, there's a lack of unified supplier portal causes, that RFI, RFP, RFX delays, you miss deadlines, there's inefficiencies in the procurement. And the solution is, well, you use Joule and Build Workzone, and that will enable intuitive RFX event navigation and responses. And you can use also Joule to connect to third-party supplier portals. And we use which skills there. So creating RFX events, deadlines, document changes, and also, the training data and so on that you have in Workzone there, and connect that. So these are just two use cases. And now we come to the most exciting part, which is building custom AI agents. Of course, everybody in the industry talks about agentic AI, and we believe at SAP we, have a really very good approach to this. So you can design your own AI agents, and that means that you can create agents that can master autonomously if you want, yeah, as far as you want autonomously without a human in the loop. Comprehensive multi-step plans. What does it mean? A comprehensive multi-step plan. These are activities that run across multiple systems, and there are multiple tasks. And maybe, you also need to enable the agent on the way to execute this kind of multi-step plan to be more cognizant in that sense of reviewing own work, reducing oversight, and streamlining the process. And that means also that you can enable or should enable the agent to be orchestrated across multiple contexts, and maybe even be integrated with other agents. And of course, these agents will also help your process automation to achieve more complex cross-functional workflows that you then, at that point in time, do not need to model any longer as 15 subflows. Yeah, that's of course one of the ultimate promises. Now, what are AI agents? Of course, I think the big difference if you look back into the past when you have been building RPA bots, you had like attended and unattended bots, and they were like running on your desktop. Still, these were agents in that sense. They were bots that were kind of, modeled. They were like pre-thought. Now, of course, an agent should be able to act autonomously and, of course, iteratively as well to achieve a goal across multiple tasks. And the key capabilities are clear. So planning, the agent can plan multiple steps, reflection, self-correction, and reasoning. Different tools and APIs can be used to build that agent. And of course, what I just mentioned, agents can call other specialized role-specific agents and interact with them or with humans, right, to achieve a task. And there, is the potential, I believe it's huge that, a lot of the structured and unstructured work, structured and unstructured data can be brought together actually and be handled in the future by agents. Now, what are the use cases here? Of course, it's all about automation again. So you automate your business tasks and you augment and accelerate your business decision-making. And here the examples, like for instance, automate the creation of dispute cases from incoming collection mails, right? So you have unstructured data and then classify customer complaints out of these mails and propose actions. So that's structure, classify, incoming unstructured data. Second use case is that you can automatically forward, customer complaint tickets about invoices. And then, you augment decision-making by combining this information again. So you bridge system and domain gaps there for cross-domain automation. That is also something that is not without agentic AI that easy today, right? And now augmented business decision-making, of course, resolution of procurement clarification requests, support human decisions by reiterating and reflecting on different data points and proposing interpretations. So that is like really unpacking complex tasks to that level where you can say, well, there's a multi-step reasoning, reflection, really understanding the process. There are multiple tasks that needs to be executed. You get recommendations. You can be in the loop as a human and basically trigger the next steps and so on. But that's basically that an agent will be your next colleague, so to say, that helps you to achieve, your business goals faster. Okay. Concluding, I would like to show you a small video. That video is based on a really cool use case that we worked with the customer Freudenberg and our partner Sovanta. And take a look at it. And maybe this is also inspiring for all of you.
Together with Freudenberg and Sovanta, SAP applied this approach to a specific business scenario. Let's meet Daniela, an IT professional that staffs projects with third-party resources using PDF contracts. This tedious process involves extracting daily rates from the PDF contracts, calculating costs in spreadsheets, and manually checking booked consulting days in the S4 system. Using the Business Agent Foundation and SAP Build, Daniela creates agents to automate these tasks. Inside the Process Builder, she adds an AI agent to her process. In the agent's configuration, she provides instructions and equips the agent with a document tool to comprehend PDF contracts, with a calculator and coding tool for consultancy cost calculations, with a web search tool to find further supplier information, as well as an SAP automation tool to trigger SAP automations that look up S4 system information. Let's have a look how the agent looks in action. Via SAP Build, Daniela can utilize a form to define her specific requirements for a consultant. In this instance, she's looking for which of their suppliers offers S4HANA Master Data Consulting services at the most competitive price within their framework contract. Within a minute, Daniela receives an approval form with the chosen partner. She then reviews the agent's decision-making process. The agent created a tailored plan for the request. It identified relevant S4HANA consultancy contracts, ignoring irrelevant providers. The agent demonstrated understanding of each consultancy's payment terms, and using its coding tool, the agent created formulas to calculate costs for each consultancy based on the requested duration and country. Impressed by the result, Daniela approves the proposal. Following Daniela's approval, John, a procurement manager, gets notified. He verifies the supplier and approves the purchase order creation. Now, a robotic process automation agent takes over on behalf of John. It automatically executes the creation of the purchase order by entering data and clicking options on the S4HANA user interface. The AI Business Agent at SAP Build Process Automation revolutionized Daniela's consultant selection process, transforming it from a time-consuming manual task into an efficient automated workflow. This optimization allows Daniela to redirect her focus towards higher-value tasks, ultimately leading to improved resource allocation and increased job satisfaction.
Good. So, final slide from me today. Let's get started. So here are, QR codes for how you can explore SAP Build, try it, and then join actually our community, and of course also explore our learning journeys that we have, plus also more information in the SAP Discovery Center about SAP Build. Thank you. Back to you, Tanya.
Great. Thank you so much, Thomas, for this excellent presentation. Perhaps you want to unshare? Then perfect. Thank you so much. So we had quite a conversation going on in the chat, which is awesome. And questions were answered by other attendees, which is really very great. Let me ask.
Great, yeah.
Let me ask them anyway. So let me start with the first question. So can we use Joule in SAP Build with RAP, or is it supporting CAP only?
Well, in SAP Build code, you can use Joule with CAP, right? In the ABAP cloud as a programming model in BTP, you can use Joule with the use cases that I have explained. If you look at the slides again, there's also a QR code where you can see. Of course, this is also the scope there is also increasing over the next quarters, and we have a roadmap there where you can also use Joule then with the ABAP cloud programming model, also with RAP here. But look at the slide, there is a QR code for the roadmap.
Great, thank you. And by the way, the link to the slides will be available in the description of this video.
That's a very common question, yes.
Right. So the next question is there a Joule trial?
Is there a Joule trial? There is a Joule, or there is a trial for SAP Build that includes also the Joule capabilities. I think there's also a separate kind of Joule trial, but Joule, of course, makes a lot of sense when it comes actually with the LOBs or with the kind of technology. We can provide you also here with a link to the respective kind of trial notifications or trial URLs.
Right, thank you. Now,
maybe I add to that, of course, we just launched the Gen AI capabilities in Joule for process automation. I just have shown you that there is in the control center this kind of consent, and when you start using that, you get also in the first month a free entitlement to try this out. So that you should be aware of. And every time you basically use Joule, you see, okay, you get like 1,000 entitlements and you have used already 200 or something like this. Yeah, please check this out as well.
Thank you so much. Now, are there tutorials or examples based on RAP?
Are there tutorials and examples based on? I'm absolutely sure there are, and we will provide you with the links. But that question is very generic. Yeah, of course. RAP is a very common kind of part of the ABAP cloud programming model, and there are for sure tutorials. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, cannot be more specific here.
Is there this connected to what you just mentioned, actually, is there a limit of Joule usage per user per day?
Not per day. You can check this out also in our discovery center where we describe this, right? I mean, there is, of course, a commercial model on, our AI capabilities. But I mean, there are entitlements that you can use for free in the first couple of months, and then basically the pricing model with AI units and so on and so forth will kick in. But that information is also available, if I'm not mistaken, on the SAP Discovery Center.
Perfect, thank you. And now, how can we measure and clearly see the actual value that SAP BTP brings to our business processes? And just to let you know, someone kindly mentioned that, actually Jerome mentioned that it is possible via SAP Cloud ALM. But perhaps you want to add.
How do we measure actually the value the total, the return on investment, so to say, is the question, right? And I mean, of course, we have studies, and we recently have released also a study with a partner, sorry, not a partner, an analyst company called GigaOM, where we, explored exactly that, the question, how much more efficient is it using BTP and specifically SAP Build, comparing to, using hyperscaler, using other technology. And there were results like, 30% increase in productivity. And of course, all of that increase in productivity comes with the benefit of a return on investment. But larger scale, there is also, an ROI calculation where you can say, well, if you use this for your procurement processes, what is the return on investment if you're using BTP? It's a mixture, of course, of developer productivity, but also scenario return on investment. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Then there was a comment, you cannot develop RAP projects in SAP Build code or Business Application Studio, or at least not yet. Do you want to comment on
No,
this?
You still have, the ABAP cloud environment with ADT, the ABAP development tools, and RAP, and we will continue to have that. And there are also in ABAP, of course, specifically for the usage of in S4 productivity tools there, so key user tools actually there. But what we are working on is, because on the other side, so to say, in non-ABAP, you have cloud application programming, that we are working on tool bridges that you can, for instance, from a RAP business object, basically continue with cloud application programming. And that this is a smooth kind of tool flow and content fluency from the RAP business object to the cloud application programming. And plus things like common tools like core data service modeling across RAP and CAP. Yeah? So you will not find RAP now in build code, but more a unified user experience for developers across ABAP and non-ABAP. Yeah, that's the direction.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, you already mentioned Clean Core in your presentation, but maybe the question here is, how are we supporting the SAP Clean Core strategy through BTP? Which parts have we addressed on stack and which ones side by side?
Yeah, that is a very good question. There is a fantastic slide on this, but I try to explain it just, visually. Well, you have, on the one hand, you have basically, the world of the application or the applications, right? You have like S4 private cloud, S4 public cloud, and you have, of course, all the other cloud LOB solutions from SAP, and all of them are a little bit, of course, different. But specifically on Clean Core, the situation is that you have, for instance, SAP ECC on-premise, and now you want to basically move actually into the cloud. And that's one aspect of it. So the transformational aspect of Clean Core. How do you, come to a Clean Core state? Public cloud by nature is clean because you cannot write custom code there. You just have the productivity tools and the ABAP development tools, and you cannot basically write your custom code in there. And what I say relates to public cloud, to private cloud and to on-premise. Moving away from custom code and becoming Clean Core is the story that I told you also here in the presentation about, first and foremost, how do you utilize also the capabilities that we have in the ABAP cloud programming model, not only in the cloud, but actually in ABAP, that you can, for instance, explain the legacy code, get recommendations, how you actually change that code and make it Clean Core compliant. So that's basically really on stack. And then there's, of course, the world of extensibility. And extensibility in BTP is basically a seamless tool flow and content fluency for extending your applications then in a clean core compliant way with Build. Be it like for app development with Build code, or be it with process automation for workflows and automations, and so on and so forth. And that is what SAP Build essentially is. You have access to all of your extensibility scenarios that you are building, whether they are full stack with Java, JavaScript, or ABAP Cloud, or they're with the low-code and pro-code tool. So the extensibility solution to be clean core compliant, if you will, though I don't like that term so much, but to act in a clean core way, so to say, is basically then SAP Build. That's the standard solution, including the ABAP Cloud. I hope that answer was not confusing and it helps.
If any further questions come up, please post them in the comments area underneath this video and they will be answered. So let's go to the next question.
Oh.
Yes? No? Okay. Is Joule enabled on DataSphere and SAC, or can we enable it?
What was the, sorry, I didn't get that. Is Joule enabled on the Business Data Cloud?
And no,
yes.
DataSphere and SAP Analytics Cloud.
Yes.
Or
look,
can we enable
we receive, of course, this question a lot of times, and I even have a list, because people ask this. I mean, as of September already last year, Joule is available in SuccessFactors, SAP Start, S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition, S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition, Customer Data Platform, BTP Cockpit, Build Code, Build Process Automation, Product Lifecycle Management, asset management, digital manufacturing, integrated business planning, and Business Data Cloud has just been launched. And yes, it's also there, right? And the list is growing every week, every month, of course. Yeah.
Thank you. So the next question is, many times when we want to get these services enabled related to AI and Joule, this is challenged by our security counterpart, and it's difficult to proceed with the next steps. What document steps has SAP taken to make this secure, and where can we find this info?
That's a tough question here to answer just with a couple of sentences. I would suggest we provide actually an answer with a link in the chat here, because I don't think we have enough time to do that here now in detail.
Okay, can you provide me the link and I can post it in the chat?
Yes, of course, Tanya.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
If you send me the question again, we'll look it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So later. Okay, then I will post it in the comments area after the session is over.
Yeah. So that's a little bit beyond also my, I mean, I'm 25 years in the company. That doesn't mean that you can ask me anything.
Okay.
I have to at times look things up. I'm sorry for that.
Which is absolutely no problem at all. We're there to answer them afterwards, even if not all questions are answered in the session. So currently, there is no other question, but given that the user groups have meetings, actually they're just meeting in Waldorf just now, and we often get questions. I would like to take the 2 minutes we have left, as long as no other questions are asked in the chat. So how do you foresee Joule and Agentic AI influencing the evolution of low-code and no-code platforms?
How do you foresee Joule and Agentic AI influencing the evolution of low-code and no-code platforms? Okay, good. So, there is a discussion in the market, and I had also discussions with a couple of analysts in there, because there is the opinion that, you know, the advancements that we are making in agentic AI, yeah, that this might have a potential to basically make platforms or platform capabilities, like, for instance, low code, no code, or even RPA, you know, obsolete. And I don't think that is really true. I think that specifically for low code, no code, the style of working will absolutely stay. It is just, it will probably change that, you know, you will not need to start modeling a process or a data model from scratch, because AI is basically there to do it for you, but you still want to have the visual representation of what AI does. And then being able to then change it again is also something that you want to do, maybe even, you know, without AI or with AI. So low code, no code will not go away, and specifically building agents will be much more dominated by you know, low code, or even to a certain degree absolutely no code, yeah, than writing code for an agent. That needs to work seamlessly together, yeah, but there is even probably a market evolving in the next couple of, well, I shouldn't say years, maybe months, in with this rapid evolution here, in saying low code agent building or something like this, yeah, a market for tools for low code agent building. This is how we see it, and this is also why Joule Studio is actually really, at the end of the day, of course, for everybody, but it needs to work also for business users who want to build an agent in a low code environment, right? Yeah.
Great, thank you. So we are actually on top of the hour. There is one question I would like to quickly ask. SAP Joule Studio will allow the creation of AI agents or only Joule skills?
There are two scenarios for Joule Studio. One is the skills for extensibility, and the second is build your own agents. And both of them is Joule Studio.
Perfect. And the other questions will be answered in the comments area underneath this video in the next few days. So let me thank you, Thomas, very much for your excellent presentation and answering all the questions from the chat. And let me express my big and warm thank you to all attendees for joining. I hope you got a lot of value from this session, and I hope to see you again next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Have a great day and a great evening, depending on where you are.